Hello and welcome to tonight's episode of History Behind the Page, the live series where you get to know more about the people behind your favorite history pages, contents, profiles, and all things history. Tonight we have a very special guest. He is a former U.S. Marine. He is an LEO officer. He is the author of the book The Rifle, Mr. Andrew Biggio. He is the man who's keeping our World War II veterans' memories and stories alive. So we're going to have him on tonight. It's going to be a great time. Before we get him on here, this is a live Q&A too as well, so you are more than welcome to ask questions. I do ask on the bottom right-hand corner of your screen, there is a little question mark bubble. Please submit your questions there, as sometimes if you submit them in the comments, they get lost, and we want to make sure that we're getting to as many questions as we can here in the hour. So let's go ahead and get Andrew on, and we'll get this this show a going. All right. Not enough water. Hey.
Hello. What's
How
up?
are you?
Good.
Good. Thanks for joining us and coming on.
No problem. Just making sure my connection's good. You can hear me?
Yeah, can hear you good.
Cool.
So, how's your day going, or evening, I guess now?
Everything's going well. Everything's going well. I just want to make sure I have good connection up here. I got to lay. Sometimes I have terrible connection in my museum, but I'll walk down there in a second.
Nice. Awesome. All right, Lucy, lay down, please. Okay, thank you. All right. So, yeah, let's get this show on. Okay, what's the dog's name?
Chongo.
Chongo. Look at that face. I love it so much. That's so awesome. Are you getting jealous? Okay, Lucy, you gotta lay down. You've never done this during a lay down, baby. Okay, so let's get this thing rolling. So tell us about how you got into, I guess, history and military history. You are a veteran, so you enlisted in the Marine Corps. So why don't you tell us a little bit about your backstory?
Sure. I think back in 2006, I joined the Marine Corps. I was in from 2006 to about 2012. And in that time, I did multiple tours in Iraq, Afghanistan, and, was a fire team leader on my last deployment to Afghanistan, which was I was in between Helmand and Nimroz province as an infantryman, 0311. And I think that was probably the most exciting of my deployments, and the most dangerous. We had a responsibility to secure a certain part of Hardball Road in Afghanistan, which there are not many of. And of course, we were met with lots of improvised explosive devices. I think 42 IEDs alone my squad found on one stretch of road. And then, that was it. When I was in the Marine Corps, I didn't give a shit about World War II. I didn't care. Not that I didn't give a shit, but it was just about, let me get my service done. Let me come home. Little did I know, I'm wearing the same emblem and the same uniform of those who fought on Saipan, Iwo Jima, Tinian, and beyond. But, my particular division, my particular unit, my particular battalion was Saipan, Tinian, Iwo. And, those, when I would read those words on our guidon, I was like, where the hell is Saipan? Whatever. Where the hell's Tinian? It was all about just getting home, starting my life. And then I never thought the crossroads would happen where I would eventually merge in with World War II.
So how did your whole interest in World War II, how did that start? Because you weren't into it before, and then something happened. So what happened?
What happened was I came home unscathed. And a lot of Marines, I admit, a lot of soldiers I met over time were severely wounded in Iraq and Afghanistan, missing limbs, arms, legs, burned. Afghanistan and Iraq, everything goes by what time you were there. Were you there in 04? Were you a Fallujah vet? Were you a Marja vet, where you were this vet. But at the end of the day, anything from special forces down to being a truck driver, getting wounded over there, it was all about luck. It all mattered where you stepped, where you drove. Okay, IEDs didn't discriminate. It didn't matter if you were SF, didn't matter if you were a scout sniper, a grunt, or a truck driver. When those went off, boom, you were wounded, killed, whatever. Same thing with the Afghan police, Afghan army, and Afghan civilians. So I came home with any average amount of, I guess, survivor's guilt any other Marine would have. And basically, I came home, and in Massachusetts, we name intersections of roads and streets after those killed in action. So in my town of Winthrop, Massachusetts, we had, I think, 50 KIA World War II, 50 boys killed in action, and one of those boys was Andrew Biggio. And okay, so my name is Andrew Biggio. Well, who is the Andrew Biggio? Well, the first Andrew Biggio, the real Andrew Biggio, was a 19-year-old kid. It was my grandfather's brother, and he was killed in action in Italy. So every day coming home from Iraq and Afghanistan, getting on with my life, I had to pass Andrew Biggio Square, which is right down the street from me here. I had to idle at that red light every day there and look at my name on a memorial square, but it wasn't me. It was just a guy I was named after. And I started to feel really bad about this kid. 19 years old, never got to start his life, never got to have a girlfriend, never got to go to college. And I started to ask myself, what happened to him that didn't happen to me? Naturally, we served in 2 different wars. His being probably way more dangerous. The kid didn't have a helmet, didn't have body armor, didn't have up armored MRAPs or Humvees, but he's 19 years old. He bled out on a hill in Italy. I need to know more. What happened? And I remember my grandmother saying she saved his letters, saved the letters that he wrote home. And one day I decided to go under that bed at my grandma's house, pull out that shoebox, and read an infantryman's story from beginning to end about fighting in Italy. In his last letter home, we always say the military makes a man out of you. It toughens you up. But this kid's best friend was his mom. The whole journey. Dear Mom, today we did this. Dear Mom. And then, until finally it was, Dear Mom, can you mail me a gold cross? I really don't want to go back up this hill again. It's like he knew what was coming. And sure enough, that letter was sent September 12th, where he's begging his mom to mail him a gold cross. September 17th, he was killed in action. And just to see that kid putting pen to paper, and how many of those letters are around this country just like that, that we've forgotten over time. And so it killed me. It killed me for a 19-year-old kid in a foreign country who, today, most of America could give 2 shits about, writing to his mom, asking for a gold cross, and gets killed. And he dies for our freedom. He dies for world freedom. But what was more interesting was the first letter that I pulled out of that shoebox. Dear Mom, today we've got to fire, it was from basic training. Dear Mom, today we got to fire the M1 Grant. It is a new rifle. It holds 8 rounds. It's going to be way better than the Japanese or the Germans, because he didn't know where he was going to end up. And I threw the letter down. I had to go out and buy an M1 Grand immediately. Didn't even finish. And I bought an M1 Grand. I'll give the mic back to you now.
No, you're fine. Lucy, you need to lay down. I'm sorry.
Lucy, knock it off.
Lucy, Andrew says knock it off.
Stop it.
Stop it. So, well, let's talk about this. Let's talk about how this came about. Give us the story. How did the rifle happen?
Yeah, so, I take the rifle at the time, right? A plain M1 Grand, 1945 Winchester. And I take it to my family, and I'm showing them, and I'm at a dinner table with all my cousins and aunts and uncles and grandparents, and I'm like, and they're like, okay, whatever, it's a gun. And I'm like, no, it's not a gun. This is what Uncle Andy had when he died, when he carried through the hills of Italy. And and they didn't get it, you know. And that's not, no, I'm not slighting on my family, but it just, there was something missing. And I took the rifle back to my house, and that gratification I had kind of ended because they didn't understand. And here I am again. Now I'm alone again, but now I have a fucking rifle with me. And I remembered, I'm like, wait a minute, Joe Drago, he lives not far from me. He fought in the Battle of Okinawa. And at that time, Joe was 91 or 2. And I said, he'll understand. He'll get this. And I knock on his door. And it was the first time he had not answered the door. He said, come in. And I opened the door, and I didn't realize how old he was getting. And he was bound to his recliner at his age, 91, 92. This is like, we're going back 6 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And his legs had gotten so skinny, right? Just from not moving around. They had atrophied. He wasn't getting. And that's when I kind of realized, holy shit, I'm in a race against time here. But I'm like, Joe, you remember this? And I put the fucking M1 in his hands. And my elderly neighbor, a man who had string beans at this point in his time in life for legs and arms, he picks up the M1. He puts it in his shoulder. He's waving it around. He's smiling ear to ear. And we talk about the Battle of Okinawa for like 3 hours. April Fool's Day, 1945. You know, just we talked about the Battle of Okinawa for so long that he could barely keep his head up. And I said, you know, when we finished, I said, Joe, sign your name on this rifle. Like, I always want to remember this. I never want to forget it. And he did. I found like a little whiteout pen.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, add your name to it because I never want to forget this. And he signed his name, Joe Drago, 2nd Marine, 22nd Marine Regiment, 6th Marine Division, Okinawa. And when I left his house, I looked down at that rifle with that one signature on it. And I said, I need to get as many signatures as possible because here I was talking about the Battle of Okinawa with a guy who was there.
Mm-hmm.
And now I got over 300 signatures.
Wow.
So, yep. And but yeah, if my connection gets bad, just let me know.
It's okay. It's good right now. So how did it turn into multiple veterans and everything? How did that transpire?
So I had, at that time, what happened was, hold on, let me get my dog. My dog's bothering me too. So basically, how to get to many veterans. Well, like, me and Joe talked a lot. We talked about a ton of things, and I'll get into that because I'm sure there's going to be come some questions like, what did I learn and all that other stuff. But when I looked down at the rifle, I said, holy crap, I just got a guy who fought in the Battle of Okinawa. Well, now let's get a guy who fought in the Battle of the Bulge. Come on. I promise you, I'm gonna sit down now.
No, you were totally fine.
So I said, well, hey, I got a guy that fought in the Pacific Theater. Why not get a guy who fought in the Battle of the Bulge? Well, now I got a guy in the Battle of the Bulge. Why not a B-17 pilot? Okay, why not a P-47 pilot? Okay, let's get a guy who was on a submarine. Let's get a guy who fought in Burma. I wanted to represent the whole war on the rifle. That was the point. Not just 101st Airborne, not just not just the flag raising on Iwo Jima. Not, let's try to represent the whole war on the rifle. That was the point.
Yeah.
Everybody were constantly talking about the same things in World War II history. And everyone knows the D-Day, jumping into Normandy, the flag raising on Iwo Jima, the dropping of the atomic bomb. What the fuck is in between all of that? And actually, Joe Drago's daughter actually just signed in on here. I just saw her name. And so I started to take the rifle to unknown units, unknown divisions, not heard of things, just getting stories, representing every person on the rifle, whether you're an infantryman, a Medal of Honor recipient, or a damn cook putting that rifle into their hands was a microphone. And it took on a life of its own. It took on a life of its own. I never thought, and then, you know, you raised the book up and you said, you know, let's talk about this. Well, I was probably 20, 30 signatures. This started off as a selfish journey, right? I wanted to have a cool thing in my man cave. I wanted to have a cool thing at my bar. It was a selfish journey. It was. I wanted to have something really cool. I was probably 20 to 30 signatures in. And I went and met a gentleman by the name of Clarence Cormier. And Clarence had served with the 106th Division. What does that mean to people? Most people, first of all, have never even heard of that division. That division, okay, and these numbers are debatable, and I love how historians like to throw numbers around, but they had one of the biggest surrenders since the American Civil War. Between 7,000 and 8,000 men, I'm going to say that, surrendered during the Battle of the Bulge. It was one of the biggest surrenders since the American Civil War, okay? People have different figures. There's a lot of people that get really defensive about that division because their parents served with it and whatnot. Those guys are damn heroes. But the fact of the matter is, they got thrown into the Battle of the Bulge. They were in country for 2 weeks. 2 weeks! And they took over for 2nd Infantry Division in the Ardennes Forest in and around the area of St. Vith, okay? They were told, hey, this is an easy area to break in. There's nothing going on here. Sure enough, it's exactly where the bulge broke. 300,000 Germans overrun them. They're outnumbered, you know, something like 10 to 1, you know, those kinds of figures. They didn't have a chance. They didn't have a chance. This isn't like this division sucks. This division was performed poorly, because they didn't. But of those 7,000 to 8,000 men, Clarence Cormier from the 422nd Regiment headquarters company was captured. He was one of those men. And I'm in Clarence's house like 5 years ago, and he's telling me about becoming a POW in his first day of combat, okay? And he starts crying, and it's the first time I ever saw a guy who was 94 cry. I mean, that's very powerful. We see people cry, we see young kids cry, we see people cry at funerals, but for us to see a 94-year-old man weep in his own living room, it does change your life. And Clarence started telling me about being captured during the Battle of the Bulge, freezing, little to no ammunition, they weren't prepared, but add insult to injury, they're now being put into boxcars, right? They're being forced into train boxcars. They are squished, what in the military we call nut to butt, right? You can't move. The other guy is literally on top of you. You can barely even inhale and exhale your chest, because some people, you know, they're crushed up against a boxcar. And that train now is destined back to Germany. Thousands of people on the train on the way to Germany. Well, American pilots, P-47 pilots, see the train. What do you think they do? They start strafing the train. They're killing their own guys. They're coming in round after round. Guys are going crazy inside the boxcar. Rounds, you know, 50 caliber rounds are piercing through these wooden train cars, killing guys. Guys are now standing in their own friends' brains, guts. The train stops. The Germans open up the train car for the Americans. The Germans open up the train car on this particular car. I know there's other people that say, oh, well, the Americans busted through, they broke out. This is Clarence's story. The Germans open up the train car. The Americans fall out. Those who are dead fall out. Other guys are jumping off. And what do they start doing? The fucking P-47s are starting to make their second round or third round, right? They're coming around again. They're going to strafe again. The guys get on the ground and with their human bodies form the letters P-O-W. So they're on the ground forming the letters P-O-W. They can hear the engines coming in. And thank God, they're praying to Christ, and thank God the planes bail out of their dive again from what they were going to strafe. And Clarence is crying his eyes out telling me this story, because that was the last time he felt truly free, that he could lift his hand up and touch the plane. He felt like the plane was so close that he could touch it. And he cried his eyes telling me this story. And it even gets worse for him. Like, he was never put in a Stalag, and if people don't know what a Stalag is, it's a German prison camp. But he was never put in. He was put in something similar. A lot of people don't know, in Germany they had something similar to a Bataan Death March, but it was the European version,
Mm-hmm.
and that happened to him. And I remember him signing the rifle, and I'm on the way out the door, and his daughter grabs me, and she says, "You know, I knew my dad was a POW. Like, that was obvious. He has an ex-POW license plate, but I've never heard my dad tell that story." That's what his daughter said. "I never heard my dad tell that story." And so I'm leaving there with my selfish rifle, right? I'm just Mr. Signature Collector. I'm going to have something really cool no one else has. And when she said that my father never told that story, I said, if his own daughter this whole time didn't know that story, how many people in this country don't know that story? How many people in the world don't know this story?
Mm-hmm.
And that's when I decided to put pen to paper and write the book.
Oh, wow. That that is a yeah. So how long did the rifle take you to gather these stories and interview these heroes and men and all that stuff? How long did it take?
I put 5 years on it, on writing the book, because at that time I was interviewing, writing, mailing the chapter back to that veteran, and letting him edit it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, these are your words. I'm not going to just write what I want. I'm going to send it back to you. You edit it. You tell me what's right, what's wrong, because I'd rather die than write something that's not true about you and the men you serve with in your division. And most importantly, I don't need to be criticized by guys who've been writing books since the 80s and think they know everything, you know? So it was like, I wanted to have them tell the story as they remember it. And that was it. That was what I was going to go with. And I wanted to go with unknown stories you hadn't heard before. I wasn't going to write the same damn book everyone else wrote. And I was too late in the game to focus on a specific division throughout the whole book. Like, forget it, you know? And that's not a slight at any people who write stories about the Civil War and things like that. But, you know, well, it's at that time, what was that, 2018 when I wrote The Rifle? It didn't come out till like 2020, I think, no, it came out in 2021. I finished it in like 2019, but there's the publishing and editing process. It took forever. So, in 2019, if you're writing a book about World War II and you want to write about the 106th Division, let's just say, and you want to talk about a guy from A Company, 422nd Regiment, well, the only other, and you interview him in Massachusetts, well, guess what? The only other survivor of A Company might be living in Seattle, Washington. That's how hard it was. And then, he can't hear you on the phone, so you're going to fly out there and interview him. You got to meet him. So yes, it became much harder. And this is the hardest time to write about World War II anymore. These guys are gone. And that was 5 years ago. That was 5 years ago. So it's been a challenge. And that's why I had to interject myself into the book a little bit more than your usual World War II book. And that's why, I used a rifle as their microphone. I had to write a book that hadn't been written before. And how did I had to make myself different than other World War II books. And that's the method I used, was the M1.
I think that's great. This is quite a story. So, I'm gonna pull up some questions here. We have a few. Let's see. Okay. Did you notice any similarities with the World War II vets that signed the rifle that helped them get?
Sorry, I froze on you.
Let me read this. It's okay. Did you notice any similarities with the World War II vets that signed the rifle that helped get them through their day-to-day lives? Did you notice any similarities in the stories from each veteran?
Yeah. Okay, so basically you froze a little bit there, or I froze.
Oh, did I?
I probably did. But you asked me, did I see similarities between the veterans themselves?
Did you notice any similarities with the World War II vets that signed the rifle that helped get them through their day-to-day lives? Did you see similar stories from each veteran?
What I thought was similar. So it's a complicated question, because in my book, right, I'm also trying to not only give you really cool, badass war stories, but I'm trying to also show younger veterans that you can live a successful life after combat. You can live a successful life after war. These guys did it. They're 98, they're 99, they're 100 years old now. They came home, they had started their own lives. They got went to college, got jobs, had careers, made it through their whole lives, and they weren't perfect. And that's what a lot of veterans similarities taught me. Like they literally like, dude, forget this greatest generation thing. Like we did some not so great things to win World War II. You don't have to live in our shadows, because a lot of us threw on the uniform because we wanted to be them. We wanted to be those guys that stormed Utah Beach. We wanted to be those guys that fought on Iwo Jima or fought in Okinawa. We wanted to be them. And they used to say, like, knock it off. Like, the shit we did in World War II, okay, would put you guys in prison. It was Joe Drago, the first Marine that signed my rifle, that really helped me. I mean, he thought it was comical that Marines got in trouble for urinating on dead Taliban in 2011, I think it was. He said that's nothing compared to what we used to do to the Japanese. You know, everyone knows the removing of gold teeth, cutting a Japanese guy's head off and strapping it to the front of your Jeep and driving around with it. Like, that stuff, right? The greatest generation got away with. And, or, the carpet bombing of cities and all this other stuff. Like, but the media was on their side. The headlines were on their side. Both Democrat and Republican were on their side. So these guys literally got to do, and that was the similarities I saw, was these veterans trying to tell me, right? Don't think we were the greatest generation. We saw a lot of scared boys. These movies of heroism, these Medal of Honor stories. They didn't see any of that. They saw a lot of scared kids, and that war isn't black and white, good versus evil. Even though everyone thinks World War II, that's the way it was, and they just. That was a breath of fresh air. Like, for a young veteran who thinks they served maybe in not a popular war or a sucky mission, for those guys to say, like, kid, relax, take a step back. This is how it really was, and that was awesome. That was awesome, and actually was very therapeutic, I think, for a lot of veterans these days to do, and to, open the book and see that they weren't perfect. And that was the similarities I saw, were a lot of guys giving me the cold hard truths, stories of retreat, stories of mutiny, stories of disobeying orders. That's the stuff you don't see in movies. Scared kids. Like, everything World War II in a lot of books and a lot of movies is swing dancing, drinking milkshakes, victory parades. And that's not the reality I got interviewing over 300 of them.
Yeah. So you get your book. So the book's published. What transpired after this? What journey did you go on after getting this published?
Sure.
What has happened since then?
So after the book got published, there was one similarity also I noticed, was that about 75% of the World War II veterans I was meeting never returned to places that would be on my and your bucket list, right? Italy, Paris, okay, Amsterdam, not that we had some big battle in Amsterdam, but I just mean in Holland and the Netherlands in general. But yeah, so I'm like, how could it be that places we're all dying to go to, these guys have ignored for 75 years, 78 years? And I started to say, would you go back? Would you go back now? And these are guys who, and then they're saying yeah to me in their living room at age 95. Like, why me? Why am I so blessed to be able to bring these guys back for the first time ever, to see their foxholes again, to see the building that they hid in while they were getting shelled, to see where they were captured, to see where they were wounded, to see where they lost their friend, to see where their drop zone again. Why? Like, I'm telling you, like, I dreamed about this stuff when I was a little kid, when I used to put money into the cans of the American Legion and VFW guys on the street corner. If anyone here is old enough to remember poppies, when you used to buy poppies on Veterans Day, put money in the little can, and the guy with the funny hat would give you a little red poppy to wear. I wanted to be those guys when I was a little kid, and to be able to walk shoulder to shoulder with them on Omaha Beach, on the Rhine River, in Bastogne. That's where the book took me. That's where the journey took me. And I am the luckiest damn 34-year-old veteran to do that with those guys. And a lot of people have that opportunity, have had it, have been doing it earlier than me, know that feeling. I had to get my own service done. You know, I see pictures of reunions and over in Normandy and Bastogne, 2006, 2007, 2008, 2011. Well, you know, I don't know. I was getting some with the Marines. You know, I didn't have that leisure, but I'm just glad it was waiting for me when I came home.
Yeah. So how many trips have you done with veterans, able to get them back? How many have you done so far?
I think I've done 10 trips to Europe with over 30 World War II veterans, 30 different World War II veterans. So much I have not even scratched this. I mean, I think my Instagram page is 3 years old. So there's just so much I never posted and never shared and never did because I didn't have Instagram. I didn't. Like I said, I was chasing that selfish dream for a while. Then I said, holy shit, why don't I create an IG page called The Rifle and start showing these guys? Because before I was just using my own personal Facebook page. And little did I know, and my page would blow up within 3 years. I think I've had it, and I think it's remarkable that 15-year-old, 18-year-olds, 20-year-olds, kids not even old enough to drink, and then baby boomers too are on my page, and I'm sometimes educating these guys and these kids more than what they're getting in school, more than what they get in high school. That is so refreshing to have moms send me messages on Instagram and say, my son really likes your page. Can he have an autograph from, you know, Sergeant Joe Smith in his book? Or can you send my son one of those cards? And my kids really love your page. Like that's remarkable. That's awesome. That means I'm getting through to them maybe in some of their college courses that aren't. You know, when we went through all this COVID shit, everybody was Zooming from home, and the guys weren't getting a lot of right education during all that. But you know, the rifle page was giving them some good history if they were getting bored while doing the Zoom classes, you know. So
Yeah. What was the most difficult thing about arranging these travel trips for the veterans? What was the hardest thing about that? I know that's probably like a really big question, but
oh my God, I
I'm
don't
just curious.
sleep. I do not sleep on those trips. I don't sleep. I don't sleep. They are wicked fun. They're the bomb. They're refreshing. They're great on social media, but they're hell. They're absolutely living hell, those trips. Because those veterans' lives are in your hands. If the wind blows the wrong way, they could die. They're 98 years old. They're 99. They're 100. You're taking them back to graveyards to visit their friends, and you're worried they're going to collapse and die. You're worried when someone coughs at them at the Bastogne War Museum. And, you know, competitors, other authors would love to say, I killed a veteran. That's just the way it is. You know, it's no different than any other type of jealousy or things going on in the history world. That's just the way it is. And, you know, people, you know, there's other authors out there that have written books since like the 70s and 80s and no one's ever heard of. And then in comes some kid with like 10 World War II veterans in Bastogne and just tears the roof off the place. So there's a lot of stress involved in that, a lot of stress. I'm pretty much done with it, actually. I did 10 trips. I got nothing else to prove. I put up monuments, plaques. I didn't just go over there to sell a few books and have some internet clout. I went over there with a purpose. I take particular veterans to the grounds they fought on, not to parade them around and get a slap on the ass in a city that they never even seen during the war. My goal is to return them to the foxhole, return them to that house, knock on a German's door, see if they remember the Americans coming in here, and that's how we get it done. And there's been so much like support, like Donnie Edwards from the Best Defense Foundation. He was one of the first people to reach out to me because he had been doing it. He'd already been doing it. And he's one of the first people to acknowledge me, tell me good job, you know, and I've forwarded veterans to his program now because I love what they do. It's a small group of people that actually really get the job done and not doing it for BS. And that's what I love it. I mean, I'm looking around here. I'm everything in here was either given to me by someone or I brought back or serves a purpose or was a veteran I interviewed. And, you know, it's just, it goes on. And my whole Italy section, I made like the front page of different German newspapers all the time. It's remarkable. And then, what's really cool is that today is my 1 year anniversary of my major book signing I had a year ago, and I got
Hmm.
to celebrate it with here, the History Chick. So
That's so amazing. I'm seriously, everything that you have done for these World War II veterans and for their legacy to live on and their stories to be told, and for these men to go one last time to places that was so important in their lives and a big part of their lives, like that's amazing what you've done and what you've accomplished. So I know that I want to thank you for everything that you've done for all these veterans. It's absolutely amazing. It's not a lot of people would do that, and so hats off to you, Andrew. That's absolutely amazing. So
thank you. I wouldn't trade it for the world.
yeah.
It's getting to the point where, I'll go back to Europe maybe with one veteran.
Hmm.
But the groups of 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, I mean, that's
Well, that's
that's a
just
wrap.
tough. Yeah.
It is. It's a tough, and it's fine. It's huge money, and
Hmm.
I've picked the same pockets for a long time. And like I said, little known units we don't know about. There wasn't the 17th Airborne was the biggest. Excuse me, Operation Varsity was one of the biggest airborne operations of World War II, if not the biggest. Right, it's the last drop over the Rhine River. The 17th Airborne took 2,000 casualties on their drop zone in Germany. There wasn't one monument. You go to Normandy, it's like Gettysburg. You can't move without running into a
Without
monument.
seeing something. Hmm.
And so, naturally, back in the day, General Patton didn't want any Americans buried in Germany. They didn't want any monuments built on enemy territory. Understandable. But now, fast forward 75 years later, it was time. And when I went back with 8 veterans to put up that monument for the 17th Airborne on their drop zone at 10 a.m. on March 24th, the exact day they dropped, I mean, boom, headshot. It's like that's the way it. I'm so glad it led to that. I'm so glad it led to that. I'm not even an Army dude. I'm not a paratrooper. I have no connection to them, but I was put in that position, and I'm going to take care of business. And I loved doing it for those guys. So
Yeah, I think that is pretty amazing because there are so many units and battles and everything that we don't all know about. We all know about the 101st Airborne. We we all know the, like you were saying earlier, the Band of Brothers stories and all that stuff. We all know about those, but hearing about, you know, the stories that we don't hear about, like that's amazing that you're bringing that to light and more people are
so
being intrigued and interested in
so I
those.
gotta I gotta say I never have like 4 family members on at the same time.
Uh-huh.
4 of Joe Drago's children are on this feed right now. I see them
Oh,
commenting,
awesome.
and he was the first veteran to sign the rifle. And I'll show you
Hmm.
his signature. Move it, Chongo. Move it. Um, where is my buddy Joe? So I'm going to show them his signature, and there it is right there. I don't know if you can see it, but
Hmm.
Joe Drago.
Oh, that's awesome.
And so I'll show you guys what I did. And so, Joe was a little bit of a violent guy, let's just say, and so was every Marine, right? But, I got my Pacific Marine stuff. Everything here was given to me by a World War II veteran, the Arasakas from Guam, Iwo Jima. But what Joe gave me was Japanese gold teeth. So
Oh.
that's it right there. That's the harsh
Hmm.
reality of what was the Battle of Okinawa, and it's there preserved. And that's it.
Hmm.
That restores normalcy to guys today. What they went through. This is his kit from Okinawa. His
Oh,
ammunition
wow.
belt, his canteen, um, and a few other stuff. These are all guys I met. Some of them didn't have children. Some of them wanted me to give them their stuff. All my stuff from Iraq, Afghanistan, right there. But I wanted to do that little tribute for Joe Drago, who he played an instrumental role in this book, my success. And God, I could vent to him about anything. He helped me understand that the world isn't perfect. He did. So I miss my days going over to his house, and man, he had a solution to everything. And a lot of these, I developed relationships with all these guys. A lot of people see me put Rocco. Rocco lives right up the street from me. I don't even get to see him enough anymore because of just, life and promotions at work and everything else. So,
Hmm. So how has the effect of the rifle and everything that you've done, has that affect like your family members getting more into history, and or people that you know who just kind of open their eyes more into maybe relatives who had family members that served, or just started to get them into history or wanting to know more about these stories?
what I thought was remarkable, right, was, when we all came back from Iraq and Afghanistan, it was like, shut up. Don't
Hmm.
talk. Don't talk about the deployment. Don't talk about war. If you do, you're an attention whore, and that's the way it was. Don't speak. And I think
Hmm.
that kind of existed. When we say the World War II generation, they never talked about it. Well, I think there was a little bit of that. There was definitely a little bit of don't talk about it. You didn't get the Medal of Honor. Shut up.
Yeah.
Um, and then there was the part that, well, back then everyone was a veteran. 16 million people served. So the postman was a vet, the firefighter was a vet, your doctor was a vet, the garbage man was a vet. Like, everybody was a veteran. That's when veteran benefits boomed, because they had so much power, because everyone was a veteran. The local politicians were veterans, and that's how it was. So you weren't special, right?
Hmm.
Now less than 1% serves, and so it's a little different. And if I can remember where the hell I was going with that, where the hell was I going with that?
I don't
Oh,
know.
yeah, you asked. Oh God, what
Has
did you
has
ask
has
me?
the has the rifle, has that expanded like family and friends
Thank you. So
interest in, yeah.
there's Pipes and Pages. I love Pipes and Pages. They did a lot for me, and helped me get actually my book in the top 10 books of 2021,
Oh, that's
um,
awesome.
with Coffee or Die Mag. But that being said, right, next thing you know, my fellow brothers from Iraq and Afghanistan are asking me, like, hey, yo, how can I get on one of those trips to Normandy? How can I get on one of those trips to Bastogne? And,
Hmm.
like, we're Marines. We never served in Bastogne and Normandy. And then I'm with these guys who would never say two words about Iraq and Afghanistan, crying with me over in Bastogne because we brought a World War II guy back to his buddy's grave.
Hmm.
Or a little German lady's bringing us pitchers of beer because we're bringing veterans back that lived at her house 75 years later. Or like that, that's incredible. Like, that's what I noticed is just my own guys who, a lot of veterans organizations in this country are failing, right? Because
Hmm.
there's a 40-year gap between Vietnam veterans and Iraq, Afghanistan guys. 40-year
Hmm.
gap, right? So they can't get people to take over their local American Legion, their VFW, because we're all out starting our lives, having kids, having jobs. We don't have time to sit on a bar stool. We don't have time to be
Hmm.
very active in the post. We want to. We love those groups. They were there for us when we came home, but that's just what it is. And so when I have guys finally, wanting to come around and actually do veteran oriented stuff, it's a wake up to them. I've been Mr. Veteran since I was a kid. I was a veteran before I was a veteran, right? In a way,
Hmm.
um, they did their service, got out, not talk about it. I'm not special, but now see what I'm doing on social media, and they want in, and that's to me another win.
That's amazing. There was actually a really good question up here earlier. What can someone do to help veterans of any war, and make sure that their stories are told?
um, I think it all depends on what generation you're talking about. Any war is
Hmm.
kind of tough to decipher, because right now is a golden opportunity to talk to World War II guys, because they're very bored. They're home. They don't get a lot of visitors. They've outlived their spouse most of the time. They've outlived some of their kids sometimes, and they're either cooped up at a nursing home, or they or they're home alone. And that's how I actually saw, even though I'm a police officer and I see the elderly taken advantage of all the time, and you say, oh my God, I can't believe this guy actually thought this dude in India needed his credit card number over the phone. But the problem
Hmm.
is they're actually so lonely. They'll open their door to anyone. They'll talk to someone on the phone just as long as they're talking to somebody. And that's what that generation, the World War II vets, need. Is they want to um, that's why people are like, dude, how did you get so many veteran signatures in your rifle? They let me all in their house. Didn't even know
Hmm.
me. Didn't even know me from a hole in the wall. Some of them were just so lonely they'll talk to you. They'll meet you at
Yeah.
McDonald's. They'll do anything. Other people, it was very more complicated. I had to handwrite letters of who I am. I'm a veteran, and please trust me. But a lot of them, I mean, I've had some of my most successful signatures and interviews from cold calling people and knocking on doors.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, if I was down in Georgia or Pennsylvania and I had a day to kill or time to kill, literally I'd start Googling, World War II vet in Scranton, Pennsylvania or something like that. And they'll say, oh, John Smith from the 87th Division celebrated his birthday. Well, I look up John Smith and I call him and I say, yeah, I'm in town. I get this rifle. You want to sign it? Sure, come on over. Just like that. Doesn't even know me. I could be sticking the guy up. But that's,
Yeah.
so, that's my advice for World War II and probably Korea. The Vietnam guys, it's funny. I mean, they're now the guys sitting at the coffee shop. They're the guys now, they're actually have replaced the seats of the World War II veterans because they're almost
Mm-hmm.
80. They're almost 80 now.
Mm-hmm.
So they're the retirees for the most part. They're the ones that are sitting there having that coffee at the same place every day. Just talk to them. Look at their hat. What's their hat say? Say thank you. Iraq and Afghanistan guys, it's going to be hard to chase them down right now because they're getting going. They're getting going on their lives. They're getting going on their families. They're that kind of thing.
So would you ever expand? Because I know that you, and correct me if I'm wrong, I think it was a few weeks ago, you met a Vietnam veteran. Is that correct? Posted about it?
I meet veterans
No?
every day.
Oh, I thought you did a whole story. Would you ever do something in regards to Korean veterans or Vietnam or
So the answer
anything
is
else?
yes. My passion for veterans is going nowhere. Going nowhere.
Mm-hmm.
It's my job to keep it alive. The reign is going to be
Yeah.
put on me. The
Mm-hmm.
Vietnam vets run the country right now. They do. The
Mm-hmm.
Vietnam era Vietnam veterans that run the country. They're the ones who run the Veterans Post. They run the Washington D.C. our benefits. They're the ones fighting for us on Capitol Hill. And then wake up and smell the coffee, guys, because then it's us. And it's actually probably going to be a brutal wake up call because that 40-year gap. And all of a sudden, oh my God, they're taking our VA disability away. Oh my God, they're doing this. Oh my God, they do that. Why aren't they doing that? Because we've had no voice. There's that 40-year, there's a 40-year gap. And so we got to be prepared for that.
Mm-hmm.
Us, as the Iraq, Afghanistan guys. And so to answer your question, I'm like 8-9 chapters into Rifle Volume 2, and then I'm retiring from World War II after that. Not really, but
Mm-hmm.
sort of. So once I get Rifle Volume 2 out there, which is going to be a little bit of different stuff, it's not going to just be blood, war, guts. It's going to be going back overseas. It's going to be new stories of valor, and it's also going to be stolen valor. I'm going to talk about guys who lied to me. And that stolen valor is not something that's new. Some of these guys have been lying for 75 years. I'm not going to be mentioning them by name.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to use different names because I don't need to embarrass their families at their age. But, Rifle Volume 2 isn't just going to be a blood and guts story of many. It's going to be what else I learned, what else I did. But yes, I
Mm-hmm.
plan on going to Vietnam and then going into Vietnam stuff. Korean War veterans are harder to find than World War II veterans.
Really?
Legitimate Korean War veterans. There's a lot less of them. They are harder to find than World War II veterans. There's a lot less than them. The war was
Yeah.
like a year shorter.
Mm-hmm.
Only a particular amount of units saw combat and fought, over the DMZ, that kind of thing. So, I'm pretty much. I'd like to. The way I see it is, once I write Rifle Volume 2 and it's out, I do want to spearhead right into Iraq, Afghanistan. I want to be able to master Iraq, Afghanistan stuff because I think if I do it while everyone's still alive, that's going to be amazing. I
Mm-hmm.
want to actually start to cover some of the most severely wounded veterans of Iraq and Afghanistan that survived injuries you would have never survived any other war. Cranial replacement surgeries,
Ooh.
belly button down, hips removed, things like that. And I think these guys are inspirations, and they have to wake up every day and look in the mirror and see the war, while guys like us get to go to work every day and things like that. So they're on my mind. My brothers and sisters from Iraq,
Mm-hmm.
Afghanistan, probably after after I finished this last World War II book.
Do you feel like with your service and your time, did you feel like you were able to connect and get and have these veterans kind of tell you a little bit more because you related on what they went through on some sort of
Yeah,
level?
yeah. Artillery hitting a human body is no different than an IED blowing up and killing someone,
Mm-hmm.
um, according to their remembering it and describing it. And I shed tears with these guys, definitely. Yeah, looking at stacks of bodies, that kind of stuff. That's blood and guts and shredded skin is whatever. It's the same as it was 78 years ago. So
Mm-hmm.
she had moments like that. Absolutely. Gunshots and in the dead and getting used to the dead and the flies landing on bodies. That's all very, very the same. And
Mm-hmm.
so we did share those moments together. And, those guys were totally robbed of their youth, and to come home because, we signed up for Iraq, Afghanistan. We wanted to see that stuff. I know that sounds sick in the head, but a lot of Marines wanted to go
Mm-hmm.
see that. That was what we wanted. And so a lot of us vets, I don't feel like we don't have that poor me bullshit that's pushed on by a lot of nonprofits saying everyone's broken and has PTSD, because we wanted the action and we lived for it and we'd do it again. But these kids were drafted, right? So you take a guy with no internet, 1943, 44. Maybe he's seen photographs of World War One in a black and white book. No internet, no blood and guts video games, no blood and guts movies and things like that. And you draft this young boy from Iowa or the projects in
Mm-hmm.
Boston, Massachusetts, and you send him to Normandy and you send him to the killing fields of Saipan. And that will ruin a boy's life. That will rob them of their youth. And so for them to come home and live normal lifestyles is a huge inspiration, huge, because they didn't ask for that, but they got handed that. That was the card they dealt in the time of World War II, in that time frame, that generation, and that history. So that's a huge inspiration for them to come home, keep their shit together, and do that. And then they weren't perfect. I met World War II veterans who attempted suicide, still have the scars on their wrists.
Mm-hmm.
I really enjoyed interviewing World War II vets who then became police officers, because that's what I did. And
Mm-hmm.
a lot of people, for a long time in Massachusetts, we have civil service that puts veterans number one on police and fire lists. And there were people trying to argue that, saying that we can't be police officers or firefighters because we have post-traumatic stress disorder. And that's bullshit. You shouldn't be disqualified from a job because you saw combat. That's fucking absolute
Mm-hmm.
bullshit. And I would use these examples of World War II veterans who fought on Saipan, survived the biggest banzai charge of the war, fighting with bayonets, and they became police officers, and they became great men, and they became good fathers. So if they can do it, so can we. So I used to love interviewing cops who were World War II veterans, and I used to say, did you ever get a call for a World War II vet, a fellow vet who's absolutely nuts, having a flashback, having a psychotic episode? And they were like, yeah, actually, some of the guys on our job were bigger psychos than the guys on the streets, because they had fought in, jumped into Normandy, or they were, their battleship was sunk in the Pacific. And it was just good. It was so therapeutic, the whole journey.
Mm-hmm.
And, it's man's been going to war for, 200 and whatever years on the American side. And it's
Yeah.
nothing new. We can adapt and overcome. And you can channel your stress into doing helpful things like I did with the
Mm-hmm.
World War II vets.
For sure. Why is it so important to keep the memory of those heroes alive?
Because we can't forget. We cannot forget. I like to highlight sacrifice all the time. Every
Mm-hmm.
generation needs to be educated on the kids we left over there. The white crosses. Okay, we left 1,000 of those guys over there. No one even knows. I go to cemeteries in Europe. I'm the only person there. That's
Mm-hmm.
huge. That's major. I mean, these are 18 and 19-year-old kids' names we'll never know, and everyone else in America won't know. And I walk the streets every day and stare at these ungrateful people but they just need to be educated. I can't hate them. They just need to be educated. It has to be put in front of them. So that's why you and I do it on Instagram.
That's definitely salute you for doing that. Let's see, a couple questions here. How many of the veterans signed the rifle? How many served in Korea after World War II? Do you happen to know? Oh, hold on.
So it's
How many
amazing.
of the veterans signed
I
on
got it.
that served in Korea after World War II? Did the experience of being in Korea change how they viewed their service in World War II? Oh, that's actually
Yeah.
a really good question.
Yeah, it's an awesome question. And
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you right now, they were way more scared in Korea. Yep. They were absolutely scared shitless in Korea. They were wounded in Korea, and they weren't wounded in World War II. Or they were wounded in both. Um, so a lot. And before I talk about this quick Korean story, I mean, I meet a lot of World War II veterans that lost a brother in World War II, and they don't even tell you that until like the end of the interview. Oh yeah, and then my brother died. Was shot out of a B-17. Although Carl's ship went down and he was killed. That was my youngest brother, Carl. Although my older brother, Carl, was in the 29th Division, and I was killed on Omaha Beach. Like a lot of these guys lost a brother
Wow.
in World War II, and we overlooked that a lot. We overlooked that a lot with World War II veterans. If you ever asked them, did you have any siblings? I met a lot who lost a brother in World War II. Someone died in World War II, you know, and actually, so both my grandfathers. This is, I'm not just saying this because both my grandfathers were Gold Star brothers. Both my grandfathers lost a brother in World War II, both of them. So I'm named after Andrew Biggio, who's killed in Italy, but then John Del Rossi was killed in the Philippines with the 38th Division. Back to Korea, I interviewed Thomas Begay, who was a Navajo code talker on Iwo Jima. Iwo Jima, okay, one of the arguably the biggest, most famous battle of Marine Corps history. Okay, lots of dead Marines. Okay, lots of carnage. Most guys didn't even see a Japanese soldier before they were wounded and evacuated. That's how crazy that battle was. Thomas thinks it's a great idea after the Marine Corps to then enlist in the Army. And he goes to Korea. He gets stuck in the Chosin Reservoir. Arguably one of the worst, most famous battles of American history. This guy served in two of the biggest battles of American history, Iwo Jima, the Chosin Reservoir. And he said to me, I said, what was worse? And without hesitation, he said, Korea. He said, you would just hear the screams of the Chinese and of the human waves. That you would hear them screaming before they even got to you. He said, in the Chosin Reservoir, he's like, on Iwo Jima, if you got shot, you would bleed, but you got a chance to live. In Korea, if you got shot, you froze to death. You froze to death. And if I would try to go pick you up to move you after a certain period of time, your arms would break off. They were frozen. Their arms would break off. Okay, so that was one Korean War veteran's intake on that.
Yeah, with the Korean War, which is one of the, the forgotten war, what they went through is absolute insanity. And when you were just talking about how you couldn't hear them at night, no, they would come over the hills with like bugles and gunfire and all this stuff. Nobody could see them, and everybody's just sitting there like, where is everybody? What is this going to happen in super cold wet? Oh yeah.
I mean, we lost, and like I said, don't get me on numbers and figures unless they're in front of me. But if I remember correctly, we had 8,000 MIA, 7 or 8,000 MIA, missing in action, in Korea. And that was because the human waves would overrun whole companies of men, and the whole company was gone.
It was insane.
And so then when we pulled back to the 38th parallel, all those MIA got stuck in North Korea. And so, that's tough. That's wicked tough,
That I agree with you on that one. Let's see. Oh, this is actually kind of a good one. Strangest story told by a World War II vet. Did any vets talk about meeting the Red Army or anything like that? Or
I've heard some strange shit, okay, for veteran to veteran. All right. I've heard some strange shit.
some strange. You don't have to share if you don't want to,
I don't care. I mean, whatever. I've heard strange sexual stuff. I've heard strange combat. I've heard strange execution. And then, yeah, I know I've had guys from particularly the 87th Division who did meet the Russians.
hmm
And they just were like, what the fuck is this gypsy army? I mean, they had women in the soldiers. They had trucks, just bongo trucks, trucks full of stuff that were like looted or stolen from houses, just jingling and jangling. And they just appeared to be, the whatever unit the 87th collided with, I think somewhere around Czech border, thought it was a real, a shanty army at that time, and I'm not trying to insult the Russian army because they did something right to obviously win World War II. But that's what they noticed was just, and they, exchanged rubles and they hugged and they kissed and they drank Russian vodka. And a lot of the veterans that I met during that I interviewed that served in World War II wish they had stayed in touch or got some sort of contact information of that Russian soldier in particular, and so, but yeah.
That is very, I'm sure there's just so many interesting stories coming out of interviewing veterans. This is a good one since you know, he did pass, but how much of a superstar was Woody Williams?
Woody Williams was a god. He was a god. He was a god in the Marine Corps.
hmm
You talk to Marines who served in Desert Storm, who served in Vietnam, served in Lebanon, Grenada, and meeting Woody at the Marine Corps ball and hearing stories from the 80s and the 70s, and him always being a positive influence for Marines. I mean, he was a superstar. And I don't love every Medal of Honor recipient. I don't. Some I've met are complete assholes. Oh, here, fill my whiskey. Things like that. The majority of them are awesome guys. But some of them were just in the right place at the right time and did something any other soldier or Marine would do. And that's kind of blasphemy to say that. But if you've truly worked with hundreds of veterans and done that, some guys know what I'm talking about. Some guys have probably met guys that were jerks. Woody Williams could have just lived out the rest of his life getting free beer at the local pub, at the local bar. And he didn't. He dedicated his whole life to veterans. Not only did he retire from the VA hospital after 30 years, he started his own nonprofit to build monuments for Gold Star parents, because Gold Star parents never got a lot of recognition, right? So like your son or daughter, husband or wife was killed in war, do we ever build something, a permanent tribute to them, the families and the mothers that have to live the rest of their lives with a broken, shattered heart? And so he did that. He started building his own nonprofit, building monuments, dedicated his whole life to veterans. Let a 29-year-old kid from Boston come into his house with a rifle and interview him, put his name on his book. He never asked me for anything in return. He was a superstar. He did a lot for veterans. He did. So he will be missed. And boy, he was the last living Medal of Honor recipient. And other guys choose different journeys after they earn the medal. Some of them want to be left alone. Some of them love the glory. And Woody was very humble and not afraid for you to capitalize off his fame and what he did on Iwo Jima. And that was what's great about him. He shared with everyone.
That is, that's amazing. That's last Medal of Honor recipient. That's just, it's kind of mind blowing just to think about that. My Opa served in World War II. He was in the 4th Armored Division, and as a kid, I never asked him questions. I wasn't interested in that type of stuff, but I guess my Opa told stories all the time about stuff that went on. And it's just crazy that I regret not asking him stories when I was younger. And, he passed away in 2011. And now we're really getting on the entail of the final living World War II veterans. Like, they're in their late 90s. We're definitely on the end. So we definitely appreciate you getting their stories and doing all these things for the veterans, for now and to come too as well. So that hour flew by super fast. So I appreciate you so much for coming on and sitting down and chatting with us, answering questions, and talking about the journey of the rifle and what you've been doing. So, your book, you can find it on Amazon, Barnes and Nobles. It's on Kindle and anywhere else that people can find it.
Yep, Barnes and Noble, Amazon. I think. Oh man, what the hell's that other one? Books a Million. That's the other one too.
Books a
Booksamillion.com.
Million.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah. So if you guys don't have his book, definitely pick up your copy. It's super, super amazing. Andrew, I want to thank you so much for coming on again and doing this. I know we we were playing like scheduling conflicts the last couple
No, I
weeks.
appreciate
I'm
you.
so happy that that you
I
came
appreciate
on.
it. I don't mind giving everybody a little because I see everyone says great collection, great, so.
Oh yeah, definitely. If you want to show people your collection, everybody loves a good
So
collection.
this
So
stand was made for me by the Veterans Museum of the Carolinas. Made me this stand here, so that was
oh
pretty
wow.
nice of them. But I try to keep a little bit of everything from each veteran I meet, and what they've done, photos of them. But I give away a lot. I do a lot of giveaways. I want to share with everybody. I get so much stuff to give away. And everyone, this is my buddy Rocco's uniform. So everyone knows Rocco Talese, 85th Division. These are items I found where my uncle was killed over in Italy. So yeah, that was here's my book collection, which I owe World War II book guy some of my favorite books and what I learned a lot from.
Mm-hmm.
So, but yeah, that's about it.
That is awesome. So just a quick question about your collection. So you started the book, you said what, 2019, so 3 years ago? You started this journey 3 years ago?
No, I started
Or am I
writing.
really bad at I'm
No,
bad at
I
math, so
started
don't worry.
writing. I think in 2017, I
Okay.
started writing. Yeah,
When did you start collecting? When did you start receiving items and then also you started collect how long have you had your collection for?
the same amount of time.
See, that's insane. That's so awesome.
Yeah, and this is not even everything. I mean, I've put so much stuff
Uh-huh.
into into bins. I have nowhere else to put it. I mean, there's so much stuff on the walls that I can't even like show you guys. I have pieces of runway from World War II. I have signed paintings and pictures and everything. Signed photographs of all the trips we did. Belt buckles, ties, things, fucking
Wow.
everything. That's not even my whole bar made out of challenge coins. Obviously, that's more of like Iraq, Afghanistan stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I got my second room here, all like my book signing in Italy.
Mm-hmm.
Back over here, we have all the stuff from the 17th Airborne Monument dedication, including a piece of the monument, a piece of a tail fin from a mortar that was where we dug up for the monument.
Mm-hmm.
B-17 guys' pants that were found in a barn in Germany. Pieces of
Wow.
pistol pack in Mama, which was a B-17 shot down over Germany. M1 Grand Barrel that I found myself in Italy in a fucking farm.
Oh.
Bigger piece of an M1. I was the main spread for World War II magazine. Pieces of parachute. Every time I brought someone back, I framed it. You know, it just me and Woody right there.
Mm.
American Rifleman magazine had me in their main spread. Combat Grand Collectors Association, and there's just so much more stuff that I haven't even. All my stuff from OIF and OEF.
That is awesome. That is quite the collection you have there, Andrew.
Yeah. No, I got so much stuff. I want to open my own place that's like a pub and a museum, but I got so much stuff. And if any of you assholes are thinking about robbing me on this thing, bring it. All right. Okay. There's more stuff I can't show you. That's ready to go. All right.
Yeah, don't mess with Andrew. I don't think that's
Okay.
a wise thing to do.
Don't be the first casualty of a World War II weapon in 78 years.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Well, Again, thank you so much for coming on. This will be available to rewatch on Instagram. It will also be available on YouTube as well starting tomorrow. But Andrew, thank you so much for taking time out to chat with
Thanks for
me
having me.
and everybody else on here. So I hope you have a great night. And
Thank
I'm
you.
sure we'll chat some other time, okay?
Bye. Thanks.
All right, bye.